G'day guys, and welcome back to another episode on the podcast. Today we're talking about attribution, and this is not something that I was very familiar with, and I've got to give a shout out to my mate Fred. Fred actually told me to talk about this because in a clip that I posted talking about the junkie that tried to arc up to me, he literally just replied with attribution. And when I think of attribution, I immediately think of like attributes, like adding badges onto your My Career Player, like shit like that. That's what I think of when I hear attribution. Like I just think of attributions. And he said, no, just like search it up, do some sort of research, watch some YouTube videos, like do what you need to do. You'll actually enjoy it and you should talk about it. And so I want to give a shout out to Fred. So thanks, Fred, for the episode. And yeah, I was researching about this and I'll get into my ideas later, but basically attribution is, well, it refers to the process of people trying to understand why other people act a certain way or explain their behaviors. But this way of thinking, it never actually gives you the answer. You never actually get the answer from this way of thinking, but it's more about the process. The attribution theory is more about the process of you trying to figure out and understand people's behaviors. And this theory was developed in the early 20th century. So it was developed by this German guy called Fitzheider. I think I pronounced that properly. And in his theory, he apparently didn't go super in depth about it, but the main key takeaway from it is he developed two types of attribution: dispositional and situational. Dispositional attribution, it refers to more of the internal factors. So, for an example, you see a girl crying on the tram, your first thought might be, oh, she's emotionally unstable. And situational attribution is more about the external factors. So a person's behaviors are because of external factors that happen to them. You see that same girl crying on the tram, and you might think, fuck, she might have just been broken up with. That's why she's crying. And these are the two main types of attribution. And it completely shapes and can sometimes lead to different answers because of your process and way of thinking. We're more likely to use situational or dispositional depending if we are the person performing the behavior or observing it. And that's where this model, it's called Kelly's covariation model. And this model goes through a process where it ends up explaining whether people use internal or external factors, or the person performing the behavior is performing it because of internal or external factors. So we'll use this example for this model so it's easy for you guys to understand. Say you're on a night out with 8 of your mates, big friend group, it's the extended friend group, and you guys are all at the pub. And one of your mates shouts a round of drinks. And in your mind, you're trying to think, is it because he's trying to be a good bloke? Does he usually do this? Or is it just people causing him to push on this act to try and put on this, I guess, idea and identity of him being a good bloke? So there are 3 factors that you go through to determine whether this is going to be because of internal or external factors, or determine whether you're going to use dispositional or situational attribution. The first one is your consensus. So how is everyone else acting in this situation that they're with? How are your 8 other mates acting? Are they all shouting each other drinks? Are they buying drinks in 3 or 4? Whoever needs one, they shout one for them. How is that happening and what's going on in that situation? If everyone else is buying drinks and shouting drinks for their mates and shouting rounds for the entire group, then the consensus is high. Whereas if no one is shouting drinks and he's just the one person shouting drinks for everyone, then the consensus is low. So he's the only person doing it. Next is the distinctiveness. So how they act in similar situations. So maybe you guys go just for a coffee. Maybe it's a group of 4 of you and you all just go for a coffee and no food. Are they shouting the coffee? Are they shouting drinks on that day? Or if you guys are out for a meal, is he shouting the meal? Is he buying maybe the appetizers? Is he buying the drinks? What is he doing there? If he's doing all those things and he constantly just shouts at people because he likes treating his mates well, then your distinctiveness is low. Whereas if he's a penny pincher, he fucking texts you about how he bought you that beer that one night, and he usually just saves his money and he's a tight ass for most of the time until you guys go to the pub and this one night he shouts all these drinks. If that's the case, then the distinctiveness is very high because he's trying to make himself distinctive. He's trying to push his image and be different from the rest of the group. Because by doing that, by setting yourself apart from the environment that you're in and the situation that you're in, it gets people talking. It puts on this image and it makes the image go across a lot easier and quicker and makes it more obvious. And then lastly, the consistency. So if he always shouts rounds when you guys are at the pub in the same situation, if he's always constantly doing this, then obviously consistency is high, and if he doesn't, then consistency is low, vice versa. So if all of these are low, then you can definitely assume that it is a part of their character. It's who they are. They like shouting their mates drinks. Like, they just want everyone to have a good time. Whereas if all of these are high, then you can assume that it's due to external factors. There's something going on, or maybe the group is pushing him towards doing these things and shouting drinks for the one time. And after going through this, it made me realize when you meet people for the first time, you really can't come to that many conclusions unless you get a pure answer from them. And it just reminded me of when that junkie tried to arc up to me. Like, I really won't ever know if the reason why he came up to me was because maybe he had a shit day or if he was on drugs. Like, I don't know. He seemed like he was on drugs, but I'm never going to actually know that. And you can't just assume that people are going to be a certain way, act a certain way, respond a certain way from what you make up in your head. Everyone has a different tolerance and everyone responds a different way and reacts a different way. Like, for myself, I'm very good at like suppressing my anger. I've realized, like, my workmates told me that the other day, and it was because this old lady, she was a grandma with her grandkids and her daughter, so the mother of the kids. And long story short, like, she wanted to change the bouncy ball that her grandson got, or she bought for him, and I was like, yep, no worries, I just need to exchange it. It'll take 2 seconds, which it literally does. I just need to scan it, put it through, and then return the other one through a membership. And she was like, oh, we don't need to do all that. And I was like, well, like, it stuffs up our stock if you just take one thing and then put back another. And then she just gives me attitude, and I was like, righto. Like, I was pretty pissed off. But then her daughter, the mum of the kids, comes over and she starts purchasing something, and I could tell that she was with her. And so I said, hey, could you get her attention? I know you guys are with each other. I just need to exchange that bowl. I'm just trying to do my job. And she's like, yeah, okay. And so I get her attention. And then I just say the same thing, like, look, can I just exchange the bowl? Like, I just need to do my job. It stuffs up our stock if we don't do it. And she goes, oh, just don't worry about it. Seriously. And 2 of my coworkers were standing next to me, and they were just like, they were staring at me in shock, and they just saw me like seething. Like, I was so angry. But then I just took a deep breath and I was like, righto, whatever. What can I do about it? I can call security, they can deal with it, but like, it really won't do much. And she just walked out of the store and didn't look back once. And it was in that moment I was just like, fuck, she must be having the worst day of her entire life. And she just wants to get her grandkid this bowl. And I just kept going through this spiral of different thoughts and explanations and trying to understand it. But then through researching for this podcast episode, I realized, like, I actually can't understand a stranger's thought patterns and explain their actions. You can't, because you don't know them well enough, and you're not going to get a definitive answer from them because you've just met them, unless they want to tell you the definitive answer why they're having a shit day. You won't be able to understand. So I just got to push it past and not think about it, because what's the point of me pondering on some stranger's actions? Like, I'm not going to let one bad thing wreck a whole day of basically good stuff that's happened. Like, I had a great shift, and then that lady came in and tried to ruin it. It felt like she tried to ruin my day, but I don't know, I'd get over it pretty quick. I'm very good at, like, suppressing my anger. It's a nice, it's actually a great thing for me to research about, because I do that a lot. I think I have high attribution. I always think about why people do things, and I always give people the benefit of the doubt, 100%, because I know some people aren't the way they are for certain reasons, and I know that people act a certain way because of their emotions. Almost everything you do, like, a lot of people do things out of emotion, not out of logic or out of habit. A lot of people do things out of emotion. They feel motivated some days, they don't feel motivated some days. Some days they're just really pissed off and they just need to eat. I don't know. Like, a lot of people do things out of emotion. But that does bring us to the end of the episode. Aside from attribution, I reckon this is probably the first hungover episode I've actually done, and it's a struggle because I was expecting to do this for half an hour and it's been 15 minutes. But I'm very happy where my effort is going into the podcast. I think this podcast is going to have a bit of a jump this year. Let's just say that. I know you guys will be excited, especially my mates will be excited for the next episode coming through. We're getting a new guest on for the episode. And it's a guest that's been asking to come on for ages. But because of, him being away, he couldn't be on. But he will be on next episode if he gets his shit together. Let's just say that. But yeah, I'm very happy with this. And I honestly didn't get an episode out on Friday because I was working 9-hour days for 4 days straight. So I wasn't able to get something out. I was barely even able to exercise. So everything's been a little bit out of whack, but I need money, and I want money to be able to put back into this. I want to be able to get another camera. So much stuff I can talk about right now. It's not related to this. I'm going to stop yapping. Thank you guys for listening if you're listening up to this point. I really appreciate it, and I hope you guys all have a great day.